Howdy doody. What y'all doing out there listening in? I appreciate it. Maybe you're driving. Maybe your wife's talking to you and you're busy doing something else. I'm okay with that. Anyway, welcome back. Welcome back to the show. It's episode number 43, which means you can find all of today's show notes at homesteadsandhomeschools.com/043. It is the third Tuesday in November, which means I have another musical guest. If you missed out on the first 2 weeks in November, go back, check them out. Episode 41 was with Jordan Page, and episode number 42 was with Jordan Taylor. So go back and listen to them if you haven't. It will, I don't know, I think you will enjoy them. I'm fairly certain that you'll enjoy them. Anyway, my guest today is Master Mark. Master Mark is out of Texas. He's a rapper, a hip hopper. I can't tell you the difference between the two. I guess I'm just uneducated in that sense. But Mark falls into that vein, and he's really enjoyable. It was a fun conversation, a good time talking to him, and we're gonna get into it, and you guys can check it out. This is the track that kind of put me onto him, called "Gardening is Gangsta." So. Let's go plant those liberty seeds with Mr. Master Mark.
I don't rely on no food stamps, cause every season I'm harvesting some new plants. It got me feeling like gardening is gangsta. Gangsta. Gardening is gangsta. Yeah. I can't trust my own government, so I got off my hamster wheel and got off the grid. It got me feeling like sovereign is gangsta. Gangsta. Sovereign is gangsta. Yeah.
So my guest today is Mr. Master Mark. He is a recording artist. He has an album out called The Weapons of Mass Instruction, which you can imagine what that is all about. And that song you heard in the beginning, that played before this little interview, was what put me on to Master Mark. I don't know, it just kind of struck me. So I reached out to him and got a hold of him, and he was gracious enough to come on today. So Mark, thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking the time out of your day and speaking with us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, most definitely. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. So you're that song we heard, "Gardening is Gangster." Was that? I mean, you have a garden of sorts.
Oh, well, yeah, I started just doing a little garden in my backyard. See, I own a landscaping and tree service company. So a lot of times I take on some projects of putting in some new gardens, or maybe revitalizing some old gardens that, they've been neglected for a lot of years. And, I started doing some edible landscapes type things where we can, grow different vegetables. Just right at home, just in people's backyards, and we came up with stuff that didn't look like an eyesore either. So kind of made sense, and you got your own fresh vegetables right there in your own backyard.
Yeah. Is that the edible landscapes is always something that's intrigued me, and it takes a little while kind of getting used to what you can use and what is actually out there. I mean, there's an abundance of plants. How did you figure that out? Was that something that you kind of knew about, like in the back of your head, that you read about or were familiar with, or how did you come about that?
Well, I had to take a few steps back because I was just seeing just the way things are in the world, just the way society is moving. And I just had to take a few steps back from it just to find out what's real and what's illusions. And when you get back to basics, it's like going all the way back to the Garden of Eden, and, just putting your hands in the dirt and, getting dirty, planting some seeds and putting some energy into it, giving it what it needs, when it needs it. If it needs water, sunlight, rich organic soils. And, it's like you're creating magic right there. And it's very empowering because you become a creator. You could take a tiny little seed and turn it into something amazing. I mean, The biggest of trees just starts from a little tiny seed, and all it takes is the energy of the sun, the energy of the earth, and sometimes a little bit of energy from us too can help cultivate it in a way that makes sense, so that we could all coexist and have some lush greenery around us instead of a bunch of dead, ugly, old stuff. And
Uh, it is.
create.
It's impressive how much you think about that. Think about the size of like a squash seed. Just one squash seed, and how much food you can get out of that. How much sustenance you can get out of that. And yeah, it takes some work here and there, but so you're in Texas. Is it a developed area where you are, or is it?
Well, I'm from Austin, Texas, but I had to escape Austin, Texas because the population is just growing so crazy fast. Traffic is getting too much. So I had to, head up north to Round Rock, and then soon enough, the same thing started happening there. It was once dirt roads, which I kind of like dirt roads going out to my house, but then it got paved, and then corner stores everywhere and mini malls. And so I had to run a little bit further east to Hutto, which is just a little bit further out. But now I'm watching the same thing happen over here. So it's like the beast is just taking over.
It's crazy how that happens. I go back, and I grew up like upstate New York, and I visit my family, and I just think like how much has changed over the past 10 years, 15 years, and it's a wild thing. But so you're out there again. Do you are you still running the landscaping?
Yes, sir. Still doing the landscaping and tree service. The name of the company is Envision, and we don't only just do the Austin area, but last year, whenever the hurricanes hit, the first one, Hurricane Florence, hit the Carolinas, and so we went out there with our tree crew and chainsaws and just went out there and helped people get their trees off of houses and off of cars and driveways. It was a big mess when we got there. And, we found a lot of people that we could help. And while we were there, we had already been there for several weeks. And that's when Hurricane Michael was heading straight for Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And my and the guy that I was working with, he lives in Florida, and it was going straight for his farm. He got a 10-acre farm out there. So he needed to go back and get everything buckled down so that he didn't lose any animals and, make sure everything's good on the farm. So we headed out there, and then Hurricane Michael hit, and it hit Panama City really hard. So we were ready to go out there and be first responders the next day. And we also did some work in Tallahassee because Tallahassee had quite a bit of damage. But once we got down there, there was no hotels available or anything like that. Everything was shut down. And so, but we got in there and we were able to help quite a bit of people that were not able to get immediate service done whenever, a lot of times it was an emergency. So we were able to be there for a lot of people, and it was a really awesome experience.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's that I can imagine the feeling there, because that's helping people is it's one of those things that until you've actually like really helped someone in need, like that, there is some gratification that just it comes in being able to serve others, in that time of need. And that's yeah. And that's not close for you. What's that drive, like 12 hours? A little bit more than that?
About a 15, 16-hour drive, depending on if I'm towing a trailer. I got to go a little bit slower and got to make more stops for gas too. But yeah, we were out there for Hurricane Sandy. We were up in New Jersey whenever the tornadoes hit Alabama. We were there in Tuscaloosa and Birmingham and did a lot of work over there. We've been to Oklahoma, Virginia Beach. We've been all over the United States doing different tree work. Most of the time when we're traveling, it's because of some kind of natural disaster, hurricanes and tornadoes and stuff like that. But
good deal. All right. So I guess back to Austin there. So who do you do work for? Is it like individuals? Is it for like the city kind of, or who are some of your clients?
No,
or what?
I mostly just do work residential, and but there's a few, like I do work for the post office regularly. There's about 4 or 5 post offices around here that we go take care of once a year, once every other year. But and a few other businesses too. But for the most part, it's residential. I like working with individuals directly, and
Hmm. So when you do like landscape work for them, and you have the knowledge of edible landscaping and what other kind of plants are out there that might be more useful than just some flowers, do you actively suggest that to people, or is it something that they find you? They come looking for
no, a
somebody.
lot of times, I mean, there has been times that I might suggest something like that, but for the most part, I like to listen to them and get an idea of what they want to create, to envision what it is that they want to have, and then sometimes I can, add some things in there to embellish upon it. But I try to work with them instead of just going in and telling them this is what you need. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, for sure. For sure.
It's like this one old lady. She had me come out there, and she said she wanted me to lollipop her oak tree, and I was like, well, it's not gonna look good. It's really not good for the tree. And she said, yeah. She said, you're the fourth tree service guy to tell me that. The other three guys wouldn't do it, and I was like, and then she made me feel bad because she was like 90 years old, and all she wanted was a lollipop oak tree. So I was like, you know what? You just tell me what it is you want it to look like, and I'm gonna do my best to make it look like exactly how you want, because you're 90 years old, so I can't tell you nothing. So let me just let me just make you happy this one time, even if other people are like, what the heck is that?
Oh, man, I'm not. I took a couple art classes in high school because I had to, and that's like one thing I remember, like my art teacher telling me there's no such thing as like a lollipop tree in real life, But
Right.
all right, so I don't know. I guess the music here, specifically that song, "Gardening is Gangster." How did that come to be? Did you get into the gardening thing, and then that came after, or how did that come about?
Well, I think originally we were gonna do the song. It was gonna be four of us on the song. Me and Paul ended up doing it, but John Bush was also gonna get in on there, and and then one of his other friends, he was talking about getting on there too. So we were gonna originally do that, the four of us, but I had mine. I had already written the song, and so I recorded it and I sent it to the other three, and I said, hey, this is the song that I'm doing. If you guys want to, write to it, or get your verses ready, and then we'll hit the studio and put it down. And so, I sent it to all three of them, and then Paul, he was ready, and he had his verse down. I listened to it. I loved the idea and the concept of it. I was like, yeah, this flows. But then I was waiting on John and his friend, and they never. Well, it was just taking them a long time, and we're like, well, let's just go in the studio and put it down. They could do theirs later, but after me and him put it down, it's like, man, that's them two verses. That's all we really need.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's something, and it's really the messages within that are huge. Is really it's something else. But so what is that? What does that mean? I guess Paul is a. Are you guys talking about being food sovereign?
Food sovereign, or just sovereign individuals in general, which in the song we're talking about just getting off the grid, and um, just living a different kind of life, just because the mainstream is it's apparent that it's moving in the wrong direction. Technology's taking over the world. Computers are taking over the world, just like the rise of the machines and the Terminator. That's really coming to pass today, right before my eyes. And you just see people that they have all this technology right at their fingertips, but they still continue to fill their brains with useless information. It's like we could do great things with it, but instead, uh, it's really contaminating people's minds and having a degenerative effect on society as a whole, from what I've gathered. And I am just trying my hardest to stay away from it and to just live a simple life, because living simply is not as simple as it seems. A lot of times it means doing things that are a lot harder and take more energy, but sometimes it's worth it because our personal sovereignty and our personal freedoms and liberties, they're important. It's something that we seem to take for granted these days.
Yeah. It seems to be a lot. People, they want that ease. It's work to get out and grow some of your own food. It's work to take care of yourself. And you can turn to government for help. You can turn to but at the same time, that, like you said, that's it's not necessarily a good thing, and it can be detrimental to your health, in other ways. But how long have you been? When did you kind of realize that you needed to take a step back from things and kind of dial it back?
Well, that was in 2012, Friday the 13th, April 2012. And yeah, that was pretty much the day that completely changed my life. That was the day that I started to wean myself off of meat, and my whole ideas of what food was completely changed as of that day. And that's a long story in itself, but basically, I started to be very conscious and aware of everything that went into my body every day. And I started noticing that a lot of the things, you start reading the labels and seeing what the ingredients in certain things. And it's like, okay, I had to kind of do an analysis. What am I putting in my body that's good? And what am I putting in my body that's bad? And what's having a positive effect and what is completely useless, pretty much just fill. And so I came to the conclusion that certain things that we have as staples in our everyday diet is not even really food, and it has no business entering our bodies in the first place. And so, like sugars, I've tried to completely eliminate sugar from my diet, and I know there's natural sugars in fruits and vegetables, and there's nothing wrong with that. But all this added sugar and all these added ingredients is the things that I try to watch out for. Try to keep it as simple as possible, as organic as possible, and that's become quite a challenge in itself because eating healthy. It's one thing when I'm home, but when I'm on the road, which I'm on the road a lot just for different reasons, and it does become really difficult to find the right foods to eat to keep on fueling your body. And I definitely noticed that there are certain superfoods that we can eat that are clean burning energy that gives us the right nutrients. I feel like the four food groups that they teach us about in school, they're not even necessary. The meat group, I feel like, is completely unnecessary. And then I feel like algae should be its own food group because algae is probably the number one thing that I've implemented into my diet where I feel the difference, I see the difference. It's like this is superfood. This is what everybody should be eating. And I believe that this is the manna that they speak of in the Bible. And I mean, there's so many different kinds of like spirulina, chlorella, green algae, red marine algae, and blue algae. And these are all, it's like when you consume them, you just feel like your soul being quenched. And they're more nutrient dense. They have more protein than a T-bone steak. And I mean, it's superfood, and everybody should be eating it. This should be a staple in our diet. The way people, have their breads and the bread and cereal group, and it's like breads. Pretty much every bread that you can buy in the store has high fructose corn syrup in it. High fructose corn syrup is one thing that you want to avoid like the plague. If I mean that aspartame and all these other cancer-causing additives that they're putting in our food these days, it should be a crime. I can't believe they get away with this stuff. People are just gobbling it up, and it hurts to see because everybody's so accustomed to popping open their Coca-Cola or Dr. Pepper and all these high fructose corn syrup beverages, and it's it's not good for their body. It's not good for their mind. It's not adding any years from their lives, but quite possibly taking some time off of their lives because doing it repetitively every day. I mean, it's just not good for our health and the obesity. And like, it's like people don't value their health as much as they should because that's one of the most important things that we have is our health. I feel like our health is our wealth. And so, if you're healthy and you're strong,
You cut out there.
I said, well, I just finished saying the best part.
Oh man.
I feel like Forrest Gump whenever he delivered that speech and the microphone cut out. And that's all I have to say about that.
All right. So, the algae. Where do you get your algae from? Then is it you take it like is a pill or a powder? Or?
Oh, I make smoothies. I mean, sometimes I'll take the pills like them little chlorella tablets and spirulina, but I like to get this detox and alkalize. I think it's Amazing Greens or something like that, and that has all of the algae in it because man, I feel like that's a food group in itself. Sea veggies, seaweed salad, and all these phytonutrients that people need. And man, it's so good for your body. Your body responds. It's like you're feeding your soul, and there's like an inner glow that comes from eating algae. And yeah, I like that particular mix for my smoothies because like I could feel the nourishment after drinking it. And that's another thing I've been doing a lot more also is just like being very mindful of what I'm eating and how my body what my body does with it, how it burns this energy, and what what foods seem to burn cleaner for longer. Like after fast, completely detoxifying my system, it's like I could actually feel my digestion and how my body is processing certain foods and what it's taking from it and what it feels from it. And so that's how I'm kind of balancing out my own diet. But there's just certain foods that like they just don't belong inside of human bodies, and that's pretty much everything that people love to eat.
Yeah, yeah. It's wild. You know, it really when you like look into the things that go into food, you look into the USDA, FDA definitions of things, even, you know, like what's considered organic or like your cage-free eggs, like what that actually means. It's nuts, you know? And I don't know if people just don't realize it or, you know, people just don't care. But
Like everybody else is doing it, so they feel like it's okay just because everybody else is doing it. But in reality, I mean, I feel like we're living in some very Neanderthalish type of days in a lot of ways, and there's a lot of things in 100 years that we're not going to be doing anymore that people are still doing today. There's a lot of things that have not yet been discovered. People don't even realize the power of crystals, the healing power of crystals, and the different ways that they can amplify our auras and our energy. And that's another thing that science hasn't caught up to us yet with, but there's definitely magic in that too. There's magic that comes from the earth, and there's
it's wild what we think we know, what we act like we know, and then, you know, you look at something as simple as, you know, food and the food pyramid that we learned about as a kid, you know, in school, and it's drilled into you that this is what you need to eat, this is how many servings of this, and then, you know, 20 years later we're scrapping the thing because we've realized that oh no, we're wrong. And I don't know, when we sit down and think we know everything.
And then we've been drinking cow DNA all these years, and afterwards, I mean, imagine being an alien coming down here and seeing humans, and they're drinking cow milk, and it's like, what is wrong with them? It's like they're using that cow DNA to turn us into flock animals because that it seems like they're succeeding in that. But I mean, that's one thing I definitely had to cut out of my diet was the belief that humans are supposed to consume the milk of cows. I mean, and then the thought of drinking human breast milk is just crazy to people, but they'll drink it out of a cow though. Uh, it just seems really weird, and just yeah, certain things that everybody thinks is okay just because everybody else does it, and it's not. It's really important to eat organic these days, definitely, because they're spraying all the crops with with fertilizers and growth hormones and different things to I mean, these animals are getting injected like crazy. You're not just eating animal meat, you're eating a lot of other stuff. You're eating a lot of chemicals, you're eating a lot of pain and a lot of fear, all the feelings that that animal feels before they're slaughtered. You're eating that too. It's I mean, if you look at the conditions that these animals are raised in, who would want to oh, just thinking about it, I don't see who would ever want to eat that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think it's, people don't know, it's not something that, it's advertised, you advertise, I said cage free. And, all that means is that there's like a 3-foot space at the end of this 180-foot, or 80-foot, thing, cage for the shelter for the chickens, and so they get a little bit of sunlight. But
technicalities, don't they?
yeah. But so what? A lot of it is, what I hear from you is kind of like this, self-reliance. Look out, not necessarily look out just for yourself, but like, be conscious of yourself and take care of yourself. I feel like a lot of that kind of comes out in your music. Is that? So is that
that's the main underlying message? Definitely is that everything else is an illusion, but you got to strengthen yourself first so that you can equip yourself to make better decisions on in the future. And I just I try to put that through my music, and every one of the songs on Weapons of Mass Destruction has their own message to it. And I try my best to turn that into a visual and put it out.
how's it been received? Do you get people pushing back on you, or how's it?
Yeah, there's been. I think that comes with being critical of the police. Is definitely get a lot of pushback about that. I get a lot of hatred about that. I get so I like to. I haven't been cop watching in a while, but when I do go cop watching, uh, there's always that one drunk guy that starts cussing and puffing his chest out like he wants to do something. And I bet we better respect police, or else well, I don't know if you probably ain't been down to 6th Street, but but yeah, it gets a
No.
little crazy back down there. But that's why we like to cop watch on 6th Street, because the cops get real aggressive, and there's not really anything or anyone there to hold them accountable, and so they can get away with whatever they want to get away with. And so, I don't go out there and try to make a big scene about it. I just go out there with my video camera, and whenever the cops start getting aggressive, I pull my camera out and I film it. And sometimes, they end up doing things that they shouldn't have been doing. And, if I caught it on camera, well, then that's proof. But just because you have proof doesn't always mean that they're going to do anything about it, because I don't know how it is in Atlanta, but in Austin, the cops, they get away with murder. They're killing people over here. It's like a couple of times a year I'm back over there at a march or in front of City Hall, because we just found out that once again the cop that killed somebody is not getting charged with anything, because they fear for their life, or for whatever reason. They could always just come back on that. But
Yeah, no, it's a sticky situation. It's there's no, the accountability isn't what it should be at all.
And somebody's got to hold them accountable, and I'm shining light on it and making it public. And it's not an easy thing to do, to stand up and be critical of the police, but somebody's got to do it, because I'm not seeing anybody that's standing boldly against it. And I just feel like nothing's gonna change. Nothing's gonna change if we don't make it change. And that's why I go out there, and I'm not trying to interfere with cops that's protecting and serving the people, but I have a thing against bad cops, crooked cops, and if I see them misbehaving, well, I'm not gonna go over there and try to fight them or anything, but I'm gonna pull out my video camera and record them. And that's the way we got to fight these days. We had to put up the guns and swords and pull out the video camera and expose them so that people can see what it is that they're doing and draw their own conclusions or their own ideas of how what should be done. Or
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot in the messaging and what you're out there doing, the way you kind of present yourself, take care of yourself, and the sense of encouraging people and teaching people, letting people know that what's actually going on, and that there's another way to do things. It doesn't have to be this left right paradigm of that we've been ingrained upon us.
Right.
But your first album has been out. Where can we go to find that?
Oh, Weapons of Mass Instruction. It's on. You could get it on Amazon or any of the main. It's on Apple and all that. But this next one coming out, I'll know a release date by the end of the week, but probably in the next 6 weeks or so. Releasing For Apocalypse. That's my next one, and that features. I just shot a new music video last weekend called Decom. It's the dark corners of my mind, and so that one was basically in Weapons of Mass Instruction. I pretty much just came out of nowhere and just dropped a bomb of truth on everybody with nobody realizing who I am or where the hell I came from. Basically because I came from prison. I had done 4 years in prison. I got convicted of a crime that I didn't commit, and I talk about that in the song, and just talk about a lot of things that led up to what I have been doing, trying to spread truth, trying to expose injustice and stand up against tyranny and evil, and just be a servant of God, really. I mean, I used to be into Christianity and devoting my life to Jesus and all that whenever I was a teenager, and I studied the Bible for a long time, and then I realized all the things about the Bible that you read it one way, but then you could read it a different way, and really what they're talking about is something completely different. So I started getting into that, and then I realized this isn't the only book of knowledge. There's also there's a Quran that has knowledge that could be gained, and all these other books, the Egyptian Book of the Dead. And so I just felt like I needed to expand from Christianity because I felt like I was only getting one part of the story, and that I needed to know the whole story. And so I'm just a student of all religions. I'll take any good from it, and if I find anything that's bad from it, I'll discard it. I don't have to carry it with me. I just I love gaining new knowledge and new insight from different perspectives, and applying it to my own life.
Nice. Well, I enjoyed the what I've seen of the first album. I know I've checked it out on all the. I think a good part of it is probably out on YouTube. I know there's a number of videos you got out there on YouTube, and I encourage people to go check that out. And I don't know. Will the second album will be available on Amazon?
I'm gonna submit it to for release on all platforms. So it should be submitted to pretty much anywhere. I'm gonna do a big release with it. Uh, that's why it take about 6 weeks. I'm already done with the project, and I'm really excited about releasing it. I just want to make sure that I go about it the right way, and have all my ducks in a row before I go out there, because basically I just want to strike hard and fast like a rattlesnake, because I know that a message like this, it's gonna upset some people. It's probably gonna make some people want to see me dead. And that's what speaking the truth does. It inspires a lot of hatred, and there's people that don't want to hear that message. And so I know that, once I spit it out there, they're going to try their hardest to keep it from spreading and keep it, off of the internet. And just like before, even with the gardening is gangster, if you listen to the gardening is gangster, you'll see that it's a positive message, but you would not believe how many times they've taken that song down, saying that I violated, like I'm like it's hate speech. That
Ooh.
it got removed because of shocking content, is what they said. And it's like so many of these different websites, they kick it off, and like YouTube, takes my videos down, and it's like, what am I saying that's so bad except just shining light on something that's real? And it's like, well, this is not anything that we want to,
That's crazy.
be publicized. So yeah, I got to do it fast, and I got to be loud, and I got to, get this on the radio waves when I do drop this Dark Corners of My Mind and these other few songs. One of the songs I got coming out is called Big Fed, and that's pretty much a personification of the Federal Reserve. And so, I'm just pretty much shining light on how the Federal Reserve works, and basically making them look like a gangster, and like they're just pimping us.
Yeah,
And
well.
and then I come back in the second verse as myself, and make my argument against it and all the reasons why it's not necessary in a free society to have something like that. So speaking out against the Federal Reserve, it didn't work out too well for John F. Kennedy and a lot of other people, but like I said, it's something I've been called upon to do, and I'm just trying to be a servant of God, and obey His commands. And so I got these songs, and I'm ready to drop them. I wish I could drop them right now, but they'll be dropping real soon. And
Nice.
can't wait for everybody to hear it, because there's some powerful messages in there.
Have you ever worked with any of the other some of the more liberty leaning guys out there?
I mean, see, the artists that I choose to work with, I choose them very carefully, because I think that their message is 1,000,000% libertarian. K Reno, for instance, he's, in my opinion, this guy is probably the best rapper alive. I mean, the guy dropped all these albums, like so much content. If you look at it, I mean, he's not so much of a rapper as he is a living prophet. The man's like a living prophet. And just to meet him in person and get to work with him and shoot a music video with him, it's like this dude's got a glow about him. It's like he's, and his message is very libertarian, but it speaks to the hood, but it also speaks it's universal, in my opinion. And I'm still waiting for his music to break through universally, but his is another message that is often extinguished. And they don't want people to get into music like this, because it's eye-opening kind of music that he makes.
Yeah. You can't keep people in the dark with if there's lights out there, But what is it? Kreno?
Rino.
Okay.
K Reno. Yeah.
All right. Well, I will put links in the show notes and encourage people to go check that out. I'm looking forward to it. I am indeed. So thanks for coming on today. I appreciate it. Take care of yourself, and keep doing what you do. I guess it's been nice. I appreciate it.
Most definitely. I appreciate you having me on your show.
Yeah, no problem, man. That was fun, wasn't it? I told you to have fun. I had fun. I think Mark had fun. How many times can I say fun in like 10 seconds? Count them. It's fun. It's fun to count, right? Anyway, folks, Master Mark, really appreciated him coming on and sharing some of his background, some of his story. There's a whole lot more there, I have a feeling, but it just kind of didn't fit into this vein of show. His first album is out, and you can find links in the show notes to that. His second album is out today as of recording. Of course, I'm recording this a day earlier, so it's not out yet. So I don't have the links in there just now, but as I can generate them as the day goes on, I will update the show notes. So homesteadsandhomeschools.com/043, and you can find links to Master Mark's first album and his second album, For Apocalypse. It's the number 4 and then Apocalypse. That is out today. So go get yourselves a copy of that. If you like what you hear here, head over to iTunes and leave a review. Click some stars. Type some words. I don't know. Maybe it'll help. Maybe it won't. I don't know. But I'm told it does. So go do that. And the holidays are coming up. You're going to be buying presents for people. So head over to homesteadsandhomeschools.com/Amazon and click that affiliate link and give the show a little kickback to help pay for some of the things. And it doesn't cost you anything. And you're already buying stuff on Amazon. You know you are. So anyway, folks, I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. And I look forward to another interview next week with another musician. And get out there, enjoy your weekend, enjoy your fall, enjoy a little bit of downtime before the holidays really hit. They'll be coming fast and furious next month. So anyway, folks, get out there, sow those seeds of liberty, and we can all reap sheaves of freedom together.
His dream.